What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the House of Holocrons, episode 62. And in this one, we're going to be covering Bad Batch, some of the ways it's tying into the sequels, and just whatever randomness has popped into our universe coming up in these next few days. So thank you all so much for stopping by. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button for the multitude of other podcasts and things we put out every single week. And put down in that comment section your thoughts on this most recent Bad Batch episode. So then, to get it all started, Bad Batch episode 4.
Well, I was say we do have a couple announcements.
Ooh.
We got a couple things coming out.
True.
Like this week we had Dark Forces Remastered come out.
Yep.
And then coming up we will be having the new Battlefront.
Yes, the Battlefront Classics.
Re-release of the classics. So if you're watching this, look forward to possibly some live streams with that as well.
Yes, if nothing else, maybe a few recorded videos like this and stuff, but we're definitely going to get into having a little Battlefront fun because Battlefront 1 and 2 on the original Xbox and PlayStation, that was some good stuff. They're bringing back, like, what was it? I think 80 player multiplayer now, which is awesome. Yeah. If they can do that, it'll be better than it originally was.
But I figure I'd throw that out there in case somebody is going for the first front, so you can look forward to that.
Yes, definitely look forward to that.
Chris will definitely be live streaming that. I would be surprised if you didn't.
Right, exactly. And I know Dark Forces is a big game for you. That's one of your favorites from back in the beginning of Star Wars gaming. That is, and for those who don't know, that is another adventure with Kyle Katarn, one of the most underappreciated, but if you know him, you love him, Jedi ever.
It was the beginning of, I believe, a 5-game series.
Yeah.
The start of the Jedi Knight series, because that's
Which actually so good.
The original of that. When follows Kyle Katarn somehow becomes a Jedi, which they kind of reinstated some aspects of it, and the kind of combination of like Rogue One and all that, and they kind of stole some ideas with it with Caspian.
Yeah. So. Well, not to mention like looks, because what is that? The new game coming out, Outlaw. One of the people who's helping the main character looks oddly a lot like Kyle Katarn. Maybe that's a nice little Easter egg.
Yeah, they kind of stole multiple aspects, but sadly, Caspian does not turn into a Jedi. He just dies.
Yeah, and that's the best way. I've always described it. If you wanted to ever see Han Solo wield a lightsaber well, that's Kyle Katarn.
Yeah, we also got we got some good comics coming out.
Yes,
you got some of them, and you posted them already on your short.
Yeah, issue 43 for the main run of Star Wars was awesome. I'll be doing a full video on that coming out here very soon, this week or next, talking entirely about how Luke Skywalker gets his green kyber crystal and the journey that comes with that. It's an absolutely stellar comic. Thrawn Alliance has been really good. Just picked up issue 2 this Wednesday, and absolutely stellar. The artwork has been really good. I forgot how much I love the banter between Thrawn and Anakin and Thrawn and Vader.
So yeah, if you like Thrawn, but you're too lazy to read the books and you want to see pictures, it's probably a good way to... It's pretty much the same story.
Yes.
I think there's a little extra in there, but it's pretty...
Yeah, there's a little extra. They're kind of like spacing it out a bit more because they're not trying to just make the book a comic, because that would take like 90-something comics.
Yeah, I looked at getting the first book comics, and they're pretty expensive right now, so I gave up on that. That's
actually probably one of my biggest things. Look forward also, coming out here soon, I may or may not be able to pick up, it is a reprint, but if I remember correctly, it is from at least 77 or 78, but at my local comic shop, I did find Star Wars #1, like the first Star Wars comic ever released. So I'm excited to hopefully pick that one up. Only like $45, which is a steal with how good of a condition it's in. Thankfully, it wasn't graded, because if the comic shop grades it before they try to sell it to me, it's gonna like septuple the price.
Yeah, we got some bad news regarding video game leaks that we got leaked out, which was confirmed that there was a video game through Respawn, but now canceled. And then we also got. And invariably in that cancel, we got confirmation that because EA listed like they wanted to focus on their main games, and Jedi was one of them. So we are going to get another Jedi game,
which is cool. Awesome. That is awesome. But yeah, at the price of definitely no first-person Mandalorian shooter adventure game, which it's like anything that involves Mandalorians and it doesn't have like concept game out and like good work already put into it, don't trust it. Because 1313 was what, like a month or two away from release, and they just canned all of it. Like that game was pretty much made.
We got a good show kind of out of it in a way, because they say a lot of Mandalorian was based off the game. So.
But how much of a fun game would that have been then?
Yeah.
Oh, that game would have done so good. I would love if one of these days. Yes, I would rather have both. In a perfect world, I mean, you have all these pieces of like Aspire, which apparently just got removed from the KOTOR. Not Aspire, but another company got removed from the KOTOR remake. So there might be life back into the KOTOR remake again, but that's like the 5th time we've heard that. EA doing what EA does best. Cancel one game that would have done good for the other game that's doing okay. Jedi does great, but I still think a first-person shooter Mando would have sold more units than the newest Jedi game.
I mean, we are getting resurgence of these smaller studios making great games. So maybe Star Wars will start licensing out to these smaller studios to make a good game.
I mean, even just like a Pazak or a Sabak phone game. Give us an official Sabak game.
Well, you look at all these major studio games that come out and they've not done well, and you look at all the major games like on Steam and stuff, and they're all these like smaller studios. That's what people want. People want like well-made games.
Well, you can almost always trust a smaller studio to be fans of the project they're working on, which helps a lot.
Well, they definitely want to get a good product out there. They want to get their name out there. They want to prove something. Where these like EA, they already know their names out there, and they throw out another game that it's just another along the line, or as we get with Ubisoft, their recent game that they put a lot of attention to, and it's not doing so hot. So hopefully we get more variety with games that way.
You know, it also feels like though a lot of games, like the mood of games has shifted a lot. Like what me and you would still be like, hey, where's our first player games? I really do think that first player story driven games, I wouldn't say they're on the out, but they're just such a minority now. Because every other console or every other director's like, no, but you make more money off these arena sandbox.
Well, because they can keep selling, making money off it. But you say that, but Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good one. Jedi Knight, the Jedi games, Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, they've both been very stuck to only first person. Yeah. And Respawn has proven that they can do multiplayer. They had Titanfall, so I'm happy about it. I'm not going to try and push, like, again, Respawn, those smaller, but still big, but smaller companies. But then you have people like EA who just can't keep a hold on secrets, and then when the secret gets out there, they just go, no, we're not doing that, never mind. Get rid of it. No one saw nothing.
Yeah, well, anyways, we did have the biggest thing, I think, this week for Star Wars was the 4th episode of Bad Batch. We're on 3 now?
Yep, season 3, the final season. It was a very, very, as we kind of briefly spoke about it, it was a very Star Wars episode.
Yeah, it was very expected. I don't think I was surprised pretty much at all. It wasn't bad. I wouldn't say it wasn't like mediocre. It was good. Yeah. It was what I expect from the Bad Batch. It wasn't anything as wow as we got in the first couple episodes, which I'm not too surprised.
Yeah, well, that beginner was amazing. The 3 episodes, of course, is going to set up so much. First one is literally just set up for the 3rd episode, and the 2nd episode's just what's going on with Hunter and Wrecker. And now that we've gotten into this one, we're seeing a lot more of like where they're actually Spoilers, so here from now on out, we're talking about heavily into the episode, guys. I did not actually expect them to make it into each other's like path this early on to go right to the end, kind of. They will eventually meet up, but there's a lot of craziness that happens in the meantime. It's a very Bad Batch feeling because before we get to this, like, oh, the story is now moved along in the last like 5 minutes of the show. Everything in between, everyone's gonna say that was filler. It was actually a nice amount of time where Crosshair and Omega got to start bonding, sharing a relationship with one another, remembering who each other are. Crosshair still constantly trying to make Omega stop caring about everything, but Omega caring about everything is infecting Crosshair.
Well, it does help in their both aspects. So she sometimes overcares, like the part where she says, well, we got to get the ship going so we can go back and rescue the others.
Yeah, he's like, we're not going back to Tantus.
Yeah. And he's like, well, and you think about it, it's like, yeah, it'd be good to rescue the others, but you guys can barely escape on your own. You barely made it out alive, let alone think you're gonna rescue it with the rest of the clones.
Yeah.
It's not the time to do that. You want to kind of regroup. Now that you know where they are, then that's when you like, hey, Rex and the other clones that are trying to do good, let's go do something.
So yes, a different approach. Episode 4, Omega and Crosshair crash land on a planet. What is it called? Lao, something like that. Which was confusing to me because I'm like, that's a Asian country, Lao. But they crash land on this planet, and I gotta say, Crosshair's in disguise look was one of the coolest things I've seen recently in Star Wars. He almost looked like a tactical SWAT.
Yeah, when they first put their disguises on, I was like, "You're not blending. You just look like soldiers. You're not blending in at all." And then you see some other people on the planet. You're like, "Okay, you do kind of blend in. They are covering their face."
A lot of facial coverings, thankfully. Which perfect planet to land on, honestly. He's got this really cool like neck, chin, headset gear like
on. The clone backpack with the clone blaster,
just chilling,
kind of gives it away.
But yeah, I really liked the almost SWAT tactical just shirt and stuff that he was wearing. He had like a baseball cap on and everything.
My question is, unless they got their faces posted out, which they just escaped, I don't think they would have. I don't see the point of covering your face at that point because they don't look like clones.
True, he does not look that much like a clone. Maybe then I guarantee you, none of those TK troopers know that scar on his eye means that's Crosshair.
So it's unique.
Yeah,
the stormtroopers. They don't know any of that stuff.
But speaking of unique stormtroopers, the whole whole internet is a buzz right now. These TK troopers have goggles. The normal phase between phase 1 and 2.
I think only the one, wasn't it?
You see a few. You see a few with the trench coat, but there's only one who like prominently shows it off. But there's the guy with goggles and the trench, and then there's the guy who just has the trench and the goggles hanging off of him. But the TK, I like that helmet. Honestly, I think that TK armor is growing on me.
It kind of reminded me of like the Mud Trooper from Solo, like the combined aspects, because they had the trench cover and they had the goggles as well.
Yeah,
so it's like they took some aspects of that and put it on a stormtrooper.
But I like the leather duster / poncho. That looked really cool and like kind of counterbalanced all that stark white armor they always pretty much have. I think it looked awesome. The internet, the internet went nuts though. Like the whole internet is in love with trenchcoat TK.
Well, I mean,
it's different. I think it's one of the newest, best designs we've gotten from in between.
Your surroundings a lot more with the trench coat. You know, stark white and a natural landscape, and then you also protect the armor from extra damage you might get. So it makes sense. I wonder why you don't see more of it. I mean, I get it because they want to show the presence, but
but especially now too, it's nice because it also gave that reminder, because whenever you'd see them breathe, you could almost see their breath. So like the planet was cold, but not so cold that you couldn't really survive on it, and it really gave a nice ambiance. I liked the town that they land in and eventually go to. It has this very small world vibe, just in a bigger setting.
Yeah, I wonder if the helmet has like a gap where the goggles, the rest actually on the eyes.
Yeah,
kind of like some of the other helmets have done, like where like Tech's helmet kind of does.
Right.
So he has like a whole visor thing. But it's interesting. And if that's the case, I wonder. Then that means I wonder if he sees better, because I have a TK helmet and they're terrible to look out of. The little eye holes.
Right.
So imagine he probably can see better.
Yeah.
If that's the case. If not, if he literally has goggles over the normal TK eyes, then definitely can't see better.
No wonder they couldn't hit anything in the episode. It wasn't plot armor, I swear. We get Batcher back. He's, running around doing his thing. He's kind of...
We almost lose him.
Yeah, we almost lose him. We get to see Omega hustle, get a little side street action going on, hustling some guys for credits in a gambling situation, which is pretty much what, of course, backfires on them, because it's the Bad Batch. They can't make it too easy. Like, because she ends up with, like, almost all the money she could ever possibly need. And then, of course, an Imperial officer walks in and demands that he gets to play too.
Well, yeah, you get Crosshairs like, yeah, we gotta blend in, do things stealthy, get in, get out, and she cannot. I mean, you're so obvious. You're a little kid. run around trying to gamble and you're yelling. It's like you stand out like a sore
Yep.
thumb, and he's over there in the corner. He's like, "Come on, hurry it up."
Yep. And they almost make it. Had she just not done that last hand, they would have at least been that much closer, because they do actually get to talk to somebody who's willing to smuggle them onto a transport. That was the first part. Like, can we even get on a transport? And they're able for, what, 30,000 credits, 15,000 each, that they will actually be smuggled onto this transport, which that's huge. The fact that she didn't immediately just go, "Hey, troopers, these people are bribing me."
Yeah, I was surprised it didn't happen.
Yeah, me too.
Especially when it's a little girl doing it.
Yes, but that's one of the things I'm really enjoying about Bad Batch, is because we don't actually know who will survive, who's gonna make it, what exact, like, we know how things will kind of progress, but we don't know exactly. So I feel like there's a lot more, like, every moment you're like, oh, is this gonna be bad? Oh, okay, no, it wasn't. Oh, is this gonna get bad? Okay, no, it didn't.
And the funny thing too is we don't know for a fact that they won't all make it.
Yeah.
Because just because they didn't show up in sequel later stuff like in Rebels or anything else, it doesn't prove that they won't be there.
It's a big galaxy.
I mean, yeah, and some of them age quicker, so they definitely, it makes sense why they won't be living.
Yeah.
To, like, to Return of the Jedi.
I mean, especially if those, like, if Batch 99 has their issues, like, go into their age, I mean, that means Wrecker will start losing his strength, Hunter will start losing his senses, Crosshair already can't shoot very well just because all the stuff he's been through. His hands are a lot more shaky now. So they could very easily just retire.
The only one that could make it later is Omega, because she doesn't have the fast growth stuff.
Yep, exactly.
And then at that point, she's so unique that we could see her like any of these shows, like Mandalorian. She'd be a lot older, but we could see her and we wouldn't know it's her unless she says who she says she is.
Exactly. But so we have this pudgy officer, though, forces Omega into a gambling situation. She wins. Yes, she wins. And at first I was like, oh, wow, this actually went really well. And then he does what Imperial officers do best and reminds them it's illegal to gamble on Lao, and they now owe him a big fine.
I think pretty much like half of what he put in, or almost the amount he put
exactly.
in the bet.
So she wins. They're still able to survive. They have just enough credits. They come out, and he's also taken Batcher and left. I love that kid, though. He's like, hey, where'd they go? And the kid's like, I'll tell you, for 15,000 credits. And Crosshair's like, I'm going to shoot him. I'm going to kill him right now.
Yeah, then he just lowers it by like 5,000.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I bought 500 credits. So Omega just goes, here's your money. Now, this kind of led to a part that I was very curious about. We see them sneaking into this animal confinement pen to go save Batcher from the Imperial officer. Did you notice the fences that they were climbing over?
Yeah, I did.
Why is there a giant Mandalorian hearts on on the fences?
My guess is just design.
Right, I was thinking, was it design, or like maybe Lao used to be occupied by Mandalorians?
I don't think it's supposed to be. I don't think their intentions was to be that in depth. But yeah, I mean, I saw the tip of it, and my first thought was
Ironheart.
Yeah.
Well, because it even has the cutout.
Yeah,
it has the cutout in the center. It has the nice shape on the outside. But I was like, okay, so that's like the wall. But then I saw behind it is that very normal Star Wars paneling wall. Yeah. I'm like, so that's accent. So they have giant iron hearts. I'm reading way too much into this more than likely, but
I mean, that's like 90% of like Star Wars fan theories.
Yeah.
That somebody just, artist or designer just threw something in. And then a lot of times it does become canon later on. So who knows, maybe they'll do a comic where it's like
Lao occupied by the Mandalorians, way back when.
Yeah, who knows? But
yeah.
I don't think the intentions originally are to be, or that the artist does like Mandalorians, they stood in there because they like Mandalorians. It's kind of like a Easter egg type thing, but I don't think the intention was to actually be tied to Mandalorian.
Right.
That wouldn't make sense, because it's kind of a throwaway planet and kind of a throwaway story just to get point A to point B.
Dang it, they don't have anything listed on where Lao actually is in the galaxy, so I can't even tell if it's close to Mandalorian space or not. But
you just know it's close to the base they just left.
It's close enough to Mount Tantus for a quick jump, even with a failing hyperdrive. But they find Batcher, and a lot of other creatures are being held here, as the officer pretty much says, but there's also a fine now for having a pet that's not registered in Lao, and you're pretty much just going to give me all your money. To which I always love it because Omega's like, well, okay, fine, we'll do that. And then he goes, not like it's going to do you a lot of good, though, when Hemlock shows up. And that's when, like, okay, so yes, the Imperials have totally been all advised to, hey, look for these two. Because Omega wasn't covering her face at all. He knew the second he sat down to gamble against her, oh, hey, that's that Omega girl that is wanted by Hemlock.
Yeah, it was. I was also saying, like, what's the point of covering his face if her face is not covered?
Right? She just wore a hat and felt like that was enough.
Yeah, it's the whole idea of, like, we got to have faces uncovered because people won't like it if they don't see emotions being shown. But we just,
But and I hate that because it's proven not true because the Mandalorian.
Well, and the clones. And...
Yeah, like we love the hell out of those guys, and they don't ever take their helmet off. That's the point.
Yeah, well, and it's funny because once he says that line, she goes, "Fine, we'll do it your way."
Yep. It just immediately bam, 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 go to town. They free a bunch of the animals, which cause havoc and help them escape. It knocks over the officer. He loses his gun, and at the last moment, when you think he's about to get the drop on Crosshair, I'm pretty sure a Rathtar eats him. I'm thinking it's a Rathtar.
It looks like it, but they don't. The only thing we get to see is a tongue.
Yeah.
So I feel like a Rathtar cage would be bigger.
I mean, it was a big cage. It looked like the same kind of cages as like the Solo, or not Solo movie, but which one is it with all the Rathtars on it? Force Awakens.
That's Force Awakens.
Yes, when Han Solo's getting all those Rathtars. But that's all I thought. It was like a Rathtar tentacle grabs him, pulls him in, mysteriously locks the door as it's pulling him in, of course, because, Star Wars. Well, not locks it, it just shuts it, because he doesn't care. The Rathtar is now eating the person who's tortured him, and that's all it cares about, or whatever it was. Which leads...
Destroys the town afterwards.
Yeah, probably. It's gonna get out. It's not gonna stay in that cage forever.
All those probably invasive species...
just got loosed into a cold climate planet.
So they inevitably escaped, but they destroyed the whole planet, essentially.
But you know what? They're not Jedi, they don't care. They survived.
We'll never hear about that planet ever.
Yeah, Lao just becomes like some overgrown, monster-filled...
Well, the ecosystem probably is destroyed from it.
I imagine a lot of them would starve to death. There's not probably a lot of food out in a big tundra. If nothing else, maybe the local... there it is. The local population had a feast right after.
But if they have a Rathtar, though, that alone would...
That's going to cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. Yeah. So if they have anything else bigger and badder, maybe a few Rancors stashed away. Who knows what was on that entire place filled with animals. It looks like he's almost running like a illegal animal ring and just like shipping them off to people and stuff.
Well, I was wondering at first, but you think about... I was thinking about if it's just like he's been smuggling these exotic animals. Mm-hmm. We don't know if some of it's local or not. So we don't get to see.
Yeah.
But I was wondering maybe if it is kind of a secret shipping lane for experimental creatures for Mount Tantus, because it's not that far from it, and he knows who Hemlock is, so he knows he's familiar with the name. He said
Hemlock too, like not Dr. Hemlock, so he's obviously known him enough to be kind of formal.
Well, Hemlock, I imagine, isn't a very common name within the Empire.
Right.
He works, and most of us does very experimental and top secret. So he can't be commonly known. So yeah, I feel like that is just kind of like they act like it's kind of this smuggling creature thing. They've been like they've been stealing people's maybe they stop a ship and they kind of take their whatever they have and say, oh, you got to pay.
Well, and that could be
impossibly high, so they confiscate the animals.
Pretty much, because we know that the hounds on Tantus don't come from there; they were brought there. Yeah. So yeah, things like that. Someone's got to deliver the animals that get turned into guards and stuff.
So it's got to be probably just kind of part of the lane to smuggle things on secretly to Mount Tantus.
Yeah, without anyone knowing. So that was awesome. They do eventually, of course, steal a ship, in which we get one of the most hilarious screams I've heard in Star Wars in a long time. Because when they finally punch it, there's a poor TK trooper behind the shuttle who gets blasted, and he has one of the most hilarious screams.
I think it's the iconic one too that we see all the time. That's got the outfit on. Didn't he have the trench coat?
Yeah, he had the trench coat on. And he just got yeeted.
Like the cool look. He looks cool the whole time. He looks cool in the background, and he's just standing there looking cool. And all, yeah, he just.
And then he gets really coolly thrown off screen. Absolutely hilarious. Like, ah! I love it. I love those kind of Wilhelm screams. They get the ship, they leave, they go somewhere because they know they got to drop the ship off because it's gonna be trackable. And so I thought from here, okay, well, they're not going to Pabu, they're not going anywhere special. Maybe they'll just go somewhere and hide until the bats show up. No. They just go meet Wrecker and Hunter, and it ends with a very heartfelt, Hunter and Wrecker hugging Omega, being happy to see her. Hunter talking about how we never stopped looking for you. And it's just, my heart. Oh, it's so precious. But I'm so curious what they're going to do with Crosshair. Like, I know they're not going to be angry, besides, I can't believe you did that, but you had a chip in the head, blah, blah, blah. I feel like Wrecker's just going to, punch him in the shoulder and be like, come on, you big dummy.
Yeah, it definitely is awkward, that's for sure.
Yeah, very. But I always love that, too, because Crosshair almost the entire time was trying to get Omega to just leave him behind, because he didn't want this exact moment to happen, because he doesn't feel like he deserves a chance to reunite with his brothers.
Yeah, he already was self-punishing himself. That's why he says they escaped, or tried to escape, but I don't believe he tried to escape that hard.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to be in jail.
I can see that.
I think he feels like he deserves what happened.
So next episode's going to be where things are really going to start probably heating up. We're going to get Crosshair's probably going to get his armor back from the other guys. We don't know. Now that we've had this ending, though, I could totally see them just not even touching on the Bad Batch in this next episode. And this whole next episode's about Asajj or about Finnick and Bane, Cad Bane. Because now they're going to have to bring in, I imagine they're bringing in these bounty hunters to find Omega.
Yeah, that kind of like, we first thought they might be on the good side of things, but now that they know they desperately need Omega, I can see them start hiring bounty hunters to find them for them.
And if nothing else, I could see Asajj trying to take Omega and work this out. But then I could also totally see Omega winning Asajj over and just being like, oh, come on, we're best friends, Asajj.
Well, what's her name already likes Omega?
Finnick, yeah.
Finnick, she already likes Omega, so they don't have to really sway her too hard.
Yeah.
Unless they're...
That's Omega's actual biggest force power. It's not force healing. It's not force premonition. It's force friends. Man, she can make anybody her friend.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly that dog was tamed. It was like a rabbit hunting dog being forced by the Empire, and a couple chicken nuggets later, it's like the most well-behaved dog ever. But he's better than my own dog. They don't have a leash. You're walking through town and hey, wait outside. Don't go anywhere.
It's amazing. And again, it's got to be her force powers. Again, she doesn't have the ability to move things with her mind that we know of, but she can definitely just connect to things.
She's secretly been using a force dark side technique to enslave things.
Yeah.
I think she's making friends with everyone, but really she's enslaved. That's how she got the deal. She was dealing with the... Because no normal kid would be able to just haggle away. And it wasn't even that good of haggling either.
Right.
It just miraculously happens because she's been force mind controlling everybody.
Eventually, she gets separated from the Bad Batch for a whole year, and then they're finally who was that little girl that was? I don't remember her, but my brain feels fuzzy.
Make us think she's actually our sister or something.
Yeah. Then we actually see Omega through somebody else's eyes, and it's just some totally normal looking pale girl who doesn't look like a clone at all. It's been a ruse the whole time.
It would make sense how she was winning the whole gambling thing.
Oh yeah, she can out gamble anyone.
Makes sense.
Her luck stat is a 10. She maxed out luck and threw everything else into strength.
Damn. That's what I'm saying. She's actually using the force and doesn't realize.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've always said too. If you're extremely lucky, that is the force. But she's she's on a whole nother level. She got that weird dragon creature to her.
It's Anakin's luck. That was the force.
Yeah.
But her luck is
the dark side. That's why Palpatine needs it, because it'll be the only thing lucky enough to keep him alive. Which is another big thing that has caused a massive stir, of course, in the local community, throughout the people who just can't understand how some people would enjoy other things than them. A lot of people are, of course, bitching and moaning because with all the things we've seen from Tantus and all the things we're getting back into, obviously this leads into Palpatine returning, Project Necromancer, where he comes back from, how he comes back. It's all leading back to the sequels. Duh. Like, no, duh.
So the thing is like, we still get upset about it. And the funny thing is, nobody get upset when The Force Unleashed did it. Nobody get upset when that was done in Legends, because this isn't new that Darth Sidious came back.
Yeah.
And cloning himself in both of those medias.
Yep.
So this idea wasn't new. I think it's just a combination of the dislike for the sequels, and then also I think people just got burnt out of Sidious, because we think it's like back in the day, Sidious was more iconic.
Yeah.
When he was more of a mystery, but then once we realized who he was, I feel like that kind of took away.
It did.
And not only that, we got, like, when episode 3, we seen him, by then we seen him so much that we're just ready to move on to somebody different.
Yeah.
Because we get it, he's the big bad, but once we see other medias like the Old Republic and stuff, like, there's other big bads out there. Like,
that did it, but way before. Yeah. They've done it before him, they've done it better than him, they've done it stronger than him.
It's like watching like a long show like Dragon Ball Z. You're expecting to see Frieza keep popping up instead of like moving on to the other enemies.
Right.
Like, oh, the big bad, it's Frieza, and then move on to the next chapter. Frieza returns.
Yep. But I do agree. No one wanted to complain when it was in Dark Empire, which is the same thing, except for no dyad. That's literally the only difference. There's still a female Skywalker. There's still young Ben Solo. Like, there's all of those things still exist. He does essence transfer. He clones himself. It's the same thing. They just don't like it. Now, the other big thing, too, is I can't understand why people are like, well, this is stupid. All these books and comics and these TV shows, that's the only thing making the sequels good. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but we didn't know anything about the Clone Wars before the TV series came out. It filled it in. Well,
like I said, one of the most popular games that is, in my opinion, still overrated was I believe it's the second one where you can do the ending where you fight Sidious and his clones. I don't know if you remember that. It's like it's like the alternate boss if you do
Force Unleashed, I believe.
Yeah, the second one.
Yes, you can kill Vader and then go after Palpatine.
And it's a similar situation, but. Because I think it's like if you find the secret boss, you can there's multiple clones of them. And people get mad about that. Me personally, I thought it was stupid. I thought it was stupid Dark Empire to clone Palpatine. I thought it was really dumb storyline. I back then complained about it, so I feel like I have the right to complain. I'm just kidding. I think I get where people are coming from, but I'd rather have stuff kind of making it make sense than or glossing over it completely than kind of, I don't know. I think I like that they're making it make sense, because some of it kind of didn't make sense.
Right. And that's the worst way to think about it to me is, how dare they go back and retroactively want to make me enjoy this more? 'Cause that's all it is. Like, you don't even have to read the comics. There are losers like me who would rather talk into the TV screen and let it just tell you, why was Palpatine so powerful? Oh, because he was literally sitting on a giant Kyber battery. Like, he wasn't really that powerful. He was using things to become that powerful. Like, oh, well, Rey this and blah, blah, blah. That's like, no, that actually makes sense for the fact that the Force brought balance into this moment again by a strand cast of the bad guy becoming the good guy. Like, that's exactly how the Force is operated with Luke and Vader.
Well, even then, I don't think Palpatine was really that, in comparison to what we've had seen before, was that strong.
No, not at all.
He was just really good planner and manipulator.
See, I don't even think he's a good planner. I think he's great at hiding himself, kinda. But like, if you the statues and the busts all over his entire office were Sith, everywhere.
I mean, yeah, it's just the fact that he was like right next to the council.
Yeah.
the High Council and they had no idea he was
because
there.
my thing is like, I love Palpatine as a villain. Yeah, he's great. He had plans upon plans upon plans upon plans, but he didn't make most of those plans. Plagueis made those plans. Tenebris made those plans. It was the thousands of years of Sith before him that just put him in the right spot to do what he did. Palpatine did nothing but got born at the right time.
Then he betrayed if he didn't betray and
because sadly Plagueis isn't canon. I hope it is, because that would also, he did the worst way to take out a master. He waited until he was already damaged and beat up, drunk, and then he attacked him. Palpatine's not a good Sith. I love to say that he's not a good Sith. He's a great bad guy, not a good Sith.
Whenever, and there's never like too many, and I know they try to do that in the sequels. They try to make it seem like he's like this all-powerful force builder. But if you think about it, you look back, we don't really see anything that powerful that he does.
He just speaks through. He changes his voice in people's heads. That's it. When he's like, I have been every voice you have ever heard inside your head. Like, that was cool. I liked that moment when he was talking to Kylo Ren, but also it's like, wow, so you can do space ventriloquism. No way.
And there's no proof that he actually was doing that to begin with.
Exactly, because he'll just lie to you straight to your face.
he did that with Darth Vader multiple times. If you think about it.
Yeah, he just told him, that was me, bro. I got you. And he's like, oh, dang.
Like he did when he tried to convince Darth Vader that he created him and stuff like that. And
yeah, he was just constantly messing with people's heads.
He does that, and the biggest thing we've seen with him and the actual canon is really just using a lot of Force lightning.
He can shoot Force lightning out really good.
But we've seen other people do that, so it's like, I mean, in
the thing he's the most credited for, we have never once seen in canon. The biggest thing is Force Maelstrom. That's what everyone always said. Oh, but Palpatine has Force Maelstrom, bro. I've never seen it. I've never seen him create a dark side black hole.
There's anything in you're more akin to the comics than I am, so I don't know if there's any comic that's currently canon that he does that's crazy. Even in the sequels, he does a bit more, but I mean that could be attributed to his, the clone,
right?
More powerful, tuned to the Force.
Yeah, the biggest thing I think he does in the comics is Vader rides in on a minor Sermon Verimanoth or whatever that giant space squid is, and Palpatine just wraps it around itself, crushes it, and brings it to the ground with the Force and goes, "Okay, are we done here?" He's got but he's also on Exegol. So he's on a dark side nexus. So of course he's more powerful. Even Vader was more powerful when he got there. That was the point of Exegol.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, I wonder if Vader wasn't so easily manipulated that he could have easily killed. I think honestly, I think Vader was stronger than Palpatine.
Oh, in so many moments. Even in the original trilogy, like, how many, just like with Luke, we know that Vader was constantly thinking about striking down Palpatine, and every time he would, Palpatine would go, do it. No, really, do it. And he just couldn't. Like, Palpatine would be like, yes, use your anger, use your hate that in the comics, he says, like, almost verbatim, use the hate for me that I have placed within you. So he knows that Vader knows that he's been screwing with him this whole time now. By the time Padme's dead and he's in the Empire for a few years, Vader knows Palpatine lied every chance he did when he was speaking to Anakin. But he just can't for some reason. He's like, no, I have to become more powerful, and this guy's the only way to do that. Not knowing that if he would just strike him down, that would be the thing that would have made him more powerful. He was that's the best thing I've always said about Darth Vader. Darth Vader was just Anakin as a slave again.
Yeah, he went too far, and he just was manipulated in the right ways that he felt like he couldn't get out of it.
I mean, because there's the moment where he gets Darth Momin to, like, and I love when Darth Momin's beating the crap out of Vader. He's like, you're not a Sith. You're just a machine who thinks angry thoughts. Get out of here. You're more machine than I am. But then, like, Vader still, like, beats him and is like, no, I can do this. And, like, goes through the dark side and, like, finds his astral body, does all this cool stuff. We have in the more recent comics from Dark Droids, Vader has literally used the Dark Droid's power to find out how to subvert his will of the over cyborgs. So he now has a team of cyborgs he's controlling with his mind with the Force.
We also see some of that too when we get into because we see a lot of cool stuff with Anakin and Darth Vader and the Thrawn novels as well. That is canon, where he's able to navigate hyperspace, which only a few select people can do, and Vader was able to do that.
Yeah.
And do some other stuff. So he's quite powerful. I think he just got to a point like that point. He does seem to get to these points where he kind of gets stagnant or just kind of used to it and doesn't like constantly use these Force abilities.
Yeah.
He's kind of just used to like people just like seeing him. So he almost feels that way. How he's written when we get to the original trilogy where we see Darth Vader. He doesn't really do too much with the Force. He just kind of just waltzes in and expects things to go his way.
Yep. And that's the biggest thing is just like, again, Vader could have taken over, but he started as a hurt slave boy who didn't understand the world and was willing to just accept his life, and he ended that way. Like, Darth Vader is just the edgelord version of Tatooine Little Annie.
Well, almost ended. The whole big deal was he freed himself at the end.
Yes, and then he finally becomes truly free by breaking his last shackle, which was to the dark side, to himself, to Palpatine. Giving up, just becoming the father he needs to be. And I'm hoping that, like, that's again why I look forward to the Rey's new trilogy. And I've from what we've heard, is the biggest rumor right now is that it's going to be called Episode 10: A New Beginning. I honestly hope they get rid of the episodes thing. Yeah. We're not in the Skywalker saga anymore. This is Star Wars: A New Beginning.
Or start it, call it Episode 1.
Yeah.
Start it as a new saga. I would rather them ditch any connection to the original trilogy. Don't bring up Luke. Don't bring up anything. Start over.
Yeah. And then there's enough jump of time here. We can happily do that. Like, and yeah, they will, of course, guarantee she's going to be like, oh, well, Grandmaster Luke would have probably thought of this. And like, moments like that are okay. But I swear to God, if Force Ghost Luke is a big part of the movie, I'm going to lose my shit.
The only thing it'd be cool if they had to bring, if they want to bring something back, I want to see stuff pre Episode 1, pre like High Republic or Old Republic. Like if they want to bring like an old villain that's not like a villain. I'm gonna say old villain, not like bringing Revan. I'm talking about like a villain that like an old Sith.
Yeah.
Like a new character but old.
Right, and we've gotten so many. I mean, cool. We got Darth Noctis. We got all these cool random Sith from like the light side versus dark side books. I mean, Darth Noctis literally has a sickle-shaped lightsaber. That's pretty cool. That's different. He went to Exegol to learn how to be immortal and became this immortal evil beast by absorbing Darth Sanguinus. Like, there's so many cool Sith Lords that have these ancient things left around that will straight up possess people.
The one thing that I want them to keep from the original writing, besides just keeping it, Star Wars-ish atmosphere, is I want them to keep what made Star Wars do so well, an iconic villain that's a mystery. Just good, iconic bad guys in general that aren't a Stormtrooper clone. We don't have to have Stormtroopers for it to be interesting.
The Nihil prove that. The Nihil prove that.
Just something iconic, something cool, something to watch.
Because that's like the exact opposite.
Star Wars is like, people like the bad guys. They don't root for them, but they're so cool. They're iconic. Yeah, like everyone loves the Stormtroopers, and like they have that iconic look that you'll never get over. But then the people who know about the Nihil, oh well, they're all just a bunch of crazy marauding drug addicts. Like, that's nuts. They are so different. Organized military, band of raiders, equally scary, equally terrifying. Well, even the droid armory,
yeah,
it's pretty iconic. Whether you hate the droids or not. They're iconic in their own way. Okay writing, I would say great writing. I'd love to have great writing, but I mean,
I think the writing teams we have now are pretty solid too. Yeah.
I think hopefully they pull some of the writing that they've done with all the extra stuff to help. The thing that will really make and break it are the people that'll be leading the project, as we've seen. Really, in my opinion, held the sequels back as they did was just the change in directors and leadership that were because it felt like, and it's quite obvious that they had conflicting views of how the story should be progressed.
Right.
And so keeping that consistent, I think, will just make the, if they are doing the trilogy, would just elevate it back to what it should be. Because you look at the prequels, there's so many things, if you compare to how movies should function, the sequels got wrong. There was some really bad writing. I admit that I like the prequels, but there was some bad writing.
Right.
So yeah, it's just, make things consistent. Have that mysterious, iconic bad guy that you don't immediately kill.
Well, and there's even some cool things we could pull back, like, again, from what we have from the Dr. Aphra comics and some of the older comics, like High Republic era. We have the thing called the Ascendancy, which is literally a group of people who use science to gain dark side powers because they worship the Sith. They want to become like the Sith, but none of them are force sensitive.
And then, have, don't, I could see where there'd be remnants of like the First Order, stuff like that, but don't use the First Order.
Yeah, let it die.
You already have people check out of it immediately. Don't include, just anything from before. You can have some of the main characters, we can have Finn and stuff like that, but not any of the original characters. I don't want to see anything about Leia or Luke or anything. Let them.
Would you be okay if Phasma? Now, okay, here's the thing. Would you be okay if Phasma were to return as a villain?
Yeah, that's fine. That would be. I would say the newer characters.
Yeah, with some good writing, with some good
sequel. I would like new characters to begin with altogether, but the new sequel characters, include them as fine.
Okay.
The original characters, like I said, let their time is.
Let Chewie fucking retire, please. That poor guy has been through so much.
Let C-3PO turn his battery off. I'm sure it's corroded to hell.
Dude, that just made me so sad. That's totally going to be a scene eventually, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I didn't think of that. No, there's eventually going to come a time where Anthony Daniels just can't do it anymore, and I don't foresee it. I mean, now that we're outside, right?
Do it. He's not the best shape anymore.
Right, and now that we're so far away from the Skywalker saga, I could totally see R2 and C-3PO being like, "Well, Master Ray Skywalker, I do apologize, but I believe it is our final day. We must shut our batteries down and move on to the next life, if there is one for droids." And I'm gonna cry just thinking about it. No!
They'll have to.
But yes, they have to get rid of them. They have to, these iconic characters, send them off with a great final, like, huzzah, but don't make them the point of the movie.
Don't do what The Force Awakens did.
Yeah.
Do what Episode 1 did, but not the same way. What I mean by that is don't clone the same formula from the original trilogy. That's what Force Awakens did. And that's what a lot of media that sometimes gets pushed out is the same formula. We don't need the general aspect of a Han Solo character, Chewbacca character.
Right.
And Rebels did that also in a way. We've seen multiple times that people will like it and you don't have to keep the same the whole idea, it's a space opera, everything repeats itself, doesn't have to take itself literally.
Yeah. Like, as much as I love the quirky, teams that we get in Rebels and the OGs and all that stuff, like, we've proven things like Clone Wars. There were literally 3 Jedi and then, like, 3 clones on screen at, like, all time. There were at least one of these 6 was on screen, and it was fine. In Rey's new movies, I would hope it's more lightsaber wielders and more Jedi, because that's what this is supposed to be about. Whereas when we head to the Acolyte, I want there to be more mystery, more darkness, more like intrigue, because that's what that one's about. Then when we get to the Dawn of the Jedi, that one can be the like Easter egg filled, where all this came from, what caused all of this. Because again, that's what that movie is supposed to be about.
Yeah, if I want them to repeat the kind of idea of repeating, I would like, a similar idea of how Star Wars progressed. When they kind of do that in Episode 1, we have the first movie introducing the main character. So reintroducing Rey, what's she up to, building up to like how she's doing things, is she making the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Then introducing the bad guys, showing how they're the bad guys, kind of building up, and then go downhill where the bad guys, the second movie, the bad guys are winning.
Yeah.
This happens in the Star Wars movies. Bad guys are winning. and we get to that point where kind of ends the second movie with bad guys are winning. How are the good guys going to win?
Right.
In the third movie, the fall of the bad guys, rise of the good guys.
Yep.
Kind of getting this kind of like this kind of weird progression of things. But that's one thing I think that the original trilogy and even the prequels did correctly. Of the prequels, if you think about it, did the same kind of formula.
Yeah.
They built up. And we get that with, episode 1 introducing who the good guys are, who the bad guys are.
Yeah.
We get into the sequel where the good guys are on their climax, and all of a sudden the bad guys show their power, and the bad guys are winning. Then we get the third movie, the bad guys are winning, and all of a sudden the good guys. We do get the kind of introduction of Vader, so the good guys do technically fall off. But
right.
we get a way how it should end. So that kind of the very ending is a little bit different, which is fine. It was a good way. They should have done it that way. So
and that's the best thing about the sequels is that ending for the sequels is just open. It literally ends on her just burying lightsabers in Tatooine, igniting hers. That's it. It is now entirely an open galaxy for Rey.
I want it to be that way. I want it to bury it away.
Yeah.
I know they say she wants to use the sky. She says she wants to use the Skywalker name. I don't want her to.
Yeah.
I would rather not hear her say Rey Skywalker. I'd rather just call her Rey. I love the original Star Wars. And the sequels showed me this. I want Star Wars to stay where the pedestal that it was put upon, stay there. To stay in the museum it belongs. I love looking at it. I love to enjoy it. But the more you take it out of there, the more it gets damaged. The more the paint comes off. The more it shows its age. Let it show its age.
Right, exactly. Just let it be this beautiful antique that it has now become. If you keep opening the pages, it eventually will rip and tear and become useless because it's just overused. And we all have a book that we know, so like especially our big book reading friends, we all know that one book they've read more than anything that was like barely hanging on by like one sliver of glue on the spine. I don't want that for Star Wars. I don't want it to be beat into oblivion. Just let it tell the story. And again, because we have the original trilogy, which has a set story, and then George Lucas was telling how they got there. It had, like you said, it's like a roller coaster. It had the ups and downs it needed to make the story go exactly where it needed to end up into episode 3. Okay, episode 3, ups and downs, we're doing our thing, but it doesn't end the same way that episode 3 ends in episode 6 because this is a good ending. Oh, the good guys, the return of the Jedi. We have finally won. And then you get, the sequels, which is like, what if we did the trilogy again? You're like, that's fine. You guys could have done better, though.
We don't need a universe killer.
Bro,
we don't need we've already got the planet killer. We've got the galaxy killer. We don't need a universe killer. We can stop with what happened with that.
We don't need a bigger, badder weapon. And I honestly, I don't ever want to see the Yuzong Vong on screen. They were good for the books. I didn't even like them that much in the books. I really do not want there to be some crazy evil space zombie necromancers. That's a bit much. That was such a 90s villain.
Yeah. I mean, I could see a partial way of it. I could see it working.
Oh, I could see like some outside of the galaxy threat. Like that could be the thing.
I'd rather have that than Stormtrooper Part 3.
Yes.
So
true. No, I'd rather them fight the fucking xenomorphs than more stormtroopers. I'd rather be Alien versus Predator versus Rey.
I want similar feeling, but different, if that makes sense.
But then that's the beauty of the prequels, the originals, and then, like, honestly, yes, the beginning of the sequels, they were trying that. They were like, you know what the story is. We're not trying to, like, rip any of your carpet out from underneath you. But then where I think the sequels faltered to a lot of people's imagination was they just didn't take and run anywhere then. I want more scenes like Broomstick Boy. Like, that's what the whole new sequel should be about. A building of this new peacekeeping order. A building.
The problem with Broomstick Boy and the problem with stuff like that is they set this stuff up.
Yes.
But they forget about it. It's like, move on to something else. It's like they keep showing, it's like, look at this shiny thing. Look at this cool thing. Look at this cool thing. And it's like, we're going to end off at this moment and never touch on it ever again.
Right, but it's like you can't have this TikTok 5-second cool thing, 5-second cool thing mindset in a movie. It needs to be slow, methodical progression.
That was the problem with The Force Awakens, is they kept, and we've mentioned this, they kept showing this cool thing's gonna happen. We're introducing this cool thing, we're introducing this cool thing. Look at this cool bad guy. Look at this person. Look at this thing.
The Knights of Ren. Where? I've never once seen a Knight of Ren except for the very end when they get killed. And they were awesome. Everybody was excited to know more about the Knights of Ren.
You could have made them the next bounty hunter lineup, where they sold awesome toys.
Yep.
People just need to know more about them, and they did it. They sold a couple toys, and I'm pretty sure they sold actually really well.
And I mean,
series that they did.
I know there are, and yes, the toys sold really well. I mean, like, try to get a vintage collection, one of these 3.75 of the only 2 I think they released. They're like $80 to $100 a figure right now because they invented these cool characters and then did nothing with them, and they're never going to make more of them. Oh, their prices skyrocketed.
And I still think the worst thing they did to Kylo Ren was to remove his mask that quickly. They humanized him too quickly.
Especially for someone who's trying to be Darth Vader.
I think it would have been a lot better if they did it over time. Kind of like they did with Vader. They didn't have to wait till the last second like they did with Vader. They could have started Kylo Ren should have been just a mask. Shouldn't have been any personal. Then the second movie, they should have slowly introduced to Kylo Ren. Okay, he's the son of Han Solo.
Look at this, Ben Solo. Yeah, Ben.
Ended episode 2 with them killing Han Solo.
Yeah.
That should have been the big deal. They should have reintroduced Han Solo in the second movie. Killed Han Solo off like he wanted. I think it just happened way too quickly.
Yeah.
They introduced so much flashy stuff, got rid of it immediately, or just never touched on it ever again. And that was the problem, in my opinion, with Force Awakens. That, and it pretty much is almost a 1-for-1 copy of A New Hope.
Yeah. So. But and thankfully, with having Filoni in his new seat, with having this better set of writers now,
showing Disney with like Mandalorian that you can tell a different story and be popular.
Yes. Like, and when it comes to like directors for these upcoming films, like when it comes to Rey's film directors, one, I liked Miss Marvel, so I'm totally down for this chick who's directing the first one. Give the second one to Bryce Dallas Howard, though. I bet she would do an amazing job.
As long as they're not trying to cancel each other out.
Yes.
Either that, keep the same director the whole time.
Yes.
Or have the previous director, kind of be helping out with it. Or something. I just don't. That's the thing I'm afraid of, is the repeating of the sequels. Because the only thing that helped Star Wars keep the thing on track is we had George Lucas the whole time. Was everything perfect? No. But at least it was
cohesive.
Mostly consistent, cohesive story. Mostly. So,
And again, that's what Filoni has been training and doing his thing and learning from the best, pretty much. So I'm very hopeful that Filoni will become that guy for us and really help us get everything set into a nice stone. This needs to happen because we need to set this up, but you can play around in this gray area. This gray area, all yours. Have at it.
I don't want him to be in charge of the movie. I want him to be in the writer's room.
Yes.
I want him to be like showing up, hey, it's a great shot you just did, but we got to redo it. Yeah. I want him to be that person. I want him to make sure things are in line. I'm sure he's going to have fun with his Mandalorian movie.
Right.
To be honest, I have less hopes for this Mandalorian movie than I do with the Rey movie.
Same here. The next season of The Mandalorian is what's going to tell me how that movie's going to go. I'm going to be looking really hard.
Star Wars, it does not have the best success with spin-off movies.
At least this one already has had Solo had maybe a show before it might have done way better.
Honestly, the Solo, if they had a show, probably would have been pretty good.
Yeah, the show probably would have been better than a movie.
Imagine if they did Rogue One after they did Andor. I wonder how well.
Because Rogue One did really good after the fact. Rogue One, there's a new thing going around I love seeing. It's how much did you actually enjoy this thing when you had people not constantly bitching in your ear that it wasn't good? Rogue One didn't actually get a lot of love when it first came out. Like, and then people...
I think it was just timing.
Yes, honestly. But then as people started to watch it, and they realized, oh, this is Star Wars, but it's different, but it's the same, and it's amazing. And it was the same thing with all these other shows. Like, you can't go into the shows expecting the movies, and you can't go into a movie expecting a show.
Yeah. Well, when I see the track record, we only have 4 off movies. Because if you count the Clone Wars movie, which wasn't very good, I'm talking about the cartoon. Because that was way before that was kind of the introduction to the show.
There's that one.
I don't know if you've ever watched it. Yeah, it wasn't very good.
It was very much a Cartoon Network movie.
Yeah, it was kind of it wasn't great. And then we had Solo, which had good moments, but had also not so great moments.
It's amazing how many people I see demanding, where's our Dryden Voss vintage collection figure? Where's our Kira? I'm like, you guys hated the movie. Why are you demanding figures?
I think Solo definitely probably would have been a lot better. And this is pre-Disney Plus, but would have been better as a series for sure. Yeah.
But I think that's going to be one of the major things that's going to help The Mandalorian and Grogu, which again, it's the weakest title I've ever heard for a Star Wars movie. The Mandalorian and Grogu. It just sounds like another season. It doesn't sound like a movie.
Yeah, I'm not that excited for it, to be honest.
And we love Mandalorians.
It's like if I want to watch a Mandalorian movie, I just watch 2 episodes back to back.
Right?
That's when they it's Mando season 3, and then it's first 2 episodes. It's that's the movie.
Well, because this Mando movie is only going to be dealing with Thrawn, and then that's it, right? That's the whole big bad is Thrawn in this?
We don't know.
Right. Because it's such a muddled timeline now. What else can there be? What else do we even have going on? Right.
We get introduced.
What would the movie could have
of stuff with the witches and stuff building up as well. How much of Ahsoka are they going to include? And then now we're getting Ahsoka season 2. So are they going to close all that plot line off before the movie?
Right. It's so hard to tell where this is going to go. I'm excited. I hope it goes somewhere really good. I will be happily surprised when it does. Yay, go us. But I want them to take the Mandalorians to somewhere with this movie. If this movie is only about Mandalorian and Grogu and it doesn't involve the greater Mandalorian people becoming a bigger entity, I probably won't be that happy with it and I'm not saying because it itself will then be bad, but what's the point of this movie if it's not to lead into the new movies coming out later? It has to be setting up the Mandalorians are going to become a big part of Rey's Republic. Or
if they don't do that, I want it to, it has to be a movie, which they're insisting on it doing. I would want it to, and people were comparing it to the idea of it, which they should have done a 2-part movie, honestly, instead of just the one, which is, I would much rather have it kind of the similar with the, how Marvel ended with their kind of movies.
Infinity War and Endgame and...
Yeah, kind of an Endgame where it's the big just climax, just everyone come together, throw all the characters from all the shows and the same thing, just having cool things happen one after the other, the bad guy winning, and it just
payoff.
Just make it big grand, we're having awesome shows back to back in the same universe, and we're starting to connect them. Just one big payoff.
Yes.
And then you do it that way, then people can move on.
Exactly.
Mostly.
Yeah.
Don't ask Marvel.
Yeah, some people will refuse to. I know people who love Thrawn, they are feverish about that blue boy, and they will foam at the mouth until he shows up randomly in anything because they just fucking love him. Thrawn's cool, but calm down.
Just because 2 of my favorite Star Wars characters are blue doesn't mean anything.
But it's going to be really good.
Blue more than I realized. They also have a lot of Rex stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't even my favorite clone, which is funny. I guess now he is. And you throw in Cad Bane, and you throw in Thrawn, and I guess
you like some blue people. Hey, everyone's got their thing. I'm more of a green guy myself. But Even more exciting than all of that, though, is there was also some news, some stirrings, though, about the fact that after Bad Batch, there will still be animated shows. Of course, we're getting Tales of the Jedi, but from what we have seen, they are hiring for more animators. So fingers crossed. I really don't think the Bad Batch is going to be the end of animated Star Wars. It's too easy for them to tell these simple tales. Like, animated is where they can dip back into the Skywalker saga and not touch too much. Because animated can be about Depa Billaba before she dies. Animated can be about anything.
I know this is a pipe dream, and I'm hoping, because how things are kind of starting that way, because we already have an animated in this universe or this timeline. I know we keep saying it's the perfect timeline to touch on, but to have a Clone Wars esque High Republic has to, right?
Yeah. I mean,
how could you not do an
settling the frontier of space, going up, meeting all these new aliens that have never been met before, dealing with marauders and pirates. Every episode does not have to be attached to any other episode.
How to sell people on getting more into the High Republic? You start with the books. You do a live action show that a lot of people are liking.
Yep.
Then the cartoon, the animation.
Yep. And we already have a bit of animation for the younger children, so let's get something and which a lot of the High Republic people just watch Young Jedi Adventures because it's all they got.
and then for the people that didn't get touched by any of that, then you throw in the video game, and then you get enough introduction into it. Then you throw out the big movie.
Yes, because just Dagan Gera alone in Jedi Survivor got a lot of people asking, what's the High Republic? Go Jedi Survivor for including High Republic stuff. That threw a lot more people into those books going, what is this? This seems really interesting. It is. It's really crazy cool.
Yeah, I think honestly, I don't want to see... I would rather have... if they did another long series animation, I think the High Republic would be the only way to progress.
Yeah, I would honestly choose the High Republic over the Old Republic because it's easier to play with. Old Republic has too many people attached to too many things.
I'm telling you, they really can't. I'm sorry.
Which sucks because you want it so bad. It'd be amazing to see Revan and Malik. But what are they gonna do? Just do KOTOR on the big screen? No.
But they won't. And the problem is, even if they call it KOTOR on the big screen, they won't do it. They'll do it how Hollywood does stuff like that.
Right.
And nobody will be happy.
Yep.
Even if they do it 1-for-1, people still won't be. I can't see a way for Disney doing anything involved with the Old Republic and people, unless they touch on something completely. Well, and they do that, and then people are like, well, where's this character? Where's Revan? So this I feel like there's no winning when it comes to the Old Republic for Disney.
Right, and that's the problem.
But that's the truth.
As much as I would love to see it, every Star Wars fan would love to see the Old Republic done well. It's nigh impossible because there's already so much personal interest put into the stories of the Old Republic.
Well, and you look at 99% of the Old Republic. Name an Old Republic game, which is only 3?
Yeah.
Where you don't make your own character.
Yep.
All of them, you make your own character. So that being said, everybody has their own view of the story that's not consistent with everybody else's.
The romances. Oh, well, no, I didn't want Revan to have Bastila. I made Revan gay as shit, which is fine, but whatever. I made him a woman.
The fact that nobody could decide, and that was the whole idea of Revan, is that he was supposed to be that way, that the gender didn't matter at the beginning, because that was the whole idea was because you were playing Revan.
Yep.
Spoiler alert. Sorry. That was 20-some years ago.
Yeah, if you haven't played KOTOR 1, oops, you're Revan.
And then you get into and then you could be light or dark side. So even in that part alone, there are so many things that people, and then you just how people experience the game itself. Because there's so many stuff that you could skip over and miss, or you could do things certain ways.
I feel like the only way it would work is to do it outside of the story so removed would be this is a story literally about Sith, the Sith school on Korriban. This is just a mini 8-part episode series about Sith learning the dark side back in the Old Republic. That could be obtainable. But again,
Yeah, but
you
why
can't
wasn't
do
Revan
it.
one of the teachers?
Yeah, well, because he was never
That's
there.
exactly what people would do.
Which is dumb. That's the problem, because they didn't even know who Revan's story was, because Revan literally goes to Dromund Kaas, gets brain controlled by the Emperor, and then gets shoved back into the galaxy to fight the Republic, to weaken them so that the Sith Empire could take over.
That's what people would do, though.
I know.
Say, where's so and so? Why aren't the Mandalorians wearing this armor?
Yeah.
Why are they this way?
Guys, because no offense, as much as I love Neo Crusaders, that armor looks dumb as shit in person. When you actually wear the armor on a human, it doesn't look good.
Honestly, I thought it was dumb to begin with. But,
oh, really? It's not the best looking armor. And then when you see that tiny little visor they have, it's like, you should just pick.
Pastel, Easter colors, too.
Yeah, it's all pastel Easter colors, and they have that giant head condom on.
But yeah, the only thing that I could see them not wanting to, but the problem, they did it with the children's show, so is the violence. I think because it's so violent. I guess they did with the children's show, so I guess they could possibly do it.
Last episode of the Young Jedi Adventures was definitely them doing the ceremony, the initiation ceremony for Starlight Beacon. And I was just like, oh, that's about to blow up.
Would you tell your 5-year-old?
Yeah. Oh, don't worry. In the next 5 months, they all die anyway. What? You want to see this thing called the Nameless?
Why isn't the next season about Starlight Beacon?
Well, you see that planet they always show underneath it? Yeah, it's there now. Oh, it landed? Sure.
Those are Statue of Jedis on.
Yeah.
Those aren't the statues of the Jedis. Those are the Jedi.
Those are just dead Jedi. Oh, wow, they made someone sweeped up a bunch of dust to look like Loading Greatstorm. Oh, buddy. That's just Loading Greatstorm. He's a pile of dust now.
But man, I just thinking about an animated version of even some of the characters, but even just the bad guys.
Yeah.
Just them animated, or we already showed we can do crazy plant creatures.
Yep.
And animated. Heck,
that'd be a fun one. Animate how the Drangir were first found. Because the Sith are the ones that locked the Drangir away. So what was that interaction like?
They could easily do a show just on what's her name, where she's lost, she's stuck fighting the Drangir and all that stuff. The girl Jedi.
Let's see. There we have.
What's her name? The big one she's
Avar Kriss.
Yeah.
Avar Kriss. Yeah, the Marshal of Hetzal, or the Hero of Hetzal.
She's overall fighting, and
yeah,
so you could follow a show on that.
Yep.
Because they cover some of her, but there's so much of her story that we don't get to hear about
until Phase 3. Yeah, they cover her a lot more in Phase 3.
Well, there's still the point where there's still a lot of her fighting that we didn't hear about.
Yes, a whole bunch of her fighting tracking down Lorna D, going up against the Nihil, taking out the Drangir, a lot. And besides that, all the Jedi on Starlight Beacon were going on missions every day. So there's an infinite number of possibilities in the High Republic to put quick serial-like episodes with one issue, one villain, resolved at the end, move on to the next one.
The only downside is you can't really rely on one voice actor for 90% of the show.
It does help when D. Bradley Baker can do everything. Although he's going to be in everything animated from here on out.
That's where they had the animated, but such a good animated budget to begin with.
Yeah.
You only had to pay one person for the voice.
Yeah. It's the Bad Batch. We need actors. We have 2, and that'll do it all. If D. Bradley Baker could do Omega, he would do that one too.
Honestly, with so much sound software out there, you could probably.
Oh yeah, you could easily. But there we are, guys. We had a lovely conversation about just the general state of Star Wars to come, what is and what will be. The Bad Batch, Episode 4, different approach, great episode, really getting us into the 5th, which is going to be where things, I can just feel it'll start taking off. We're really going to start getting into the meat and potatoes of this, because we don't really have that many episodes left. We're not We're not halfway yet, but we're getting close.
Yeah, well, was it like ends right before May 4th?
Yeah,
Going to
I
so we got
believe
a little
so.
bit. We got a little bit to hold us over
Mm-hmm.
until all the crazy stuff dropping with May 4th.
Oh, please give us an Acolyte trailer. Please give us an
Well,
Acolyte trailer.
what's the rumor we're getting it in June or something like that?
Yeah, something. That was the rumors that Acolyte will be releasing like June 2nd or June 9th, something like that. I hope so. Gods, I hope so. It'd be so good to have. But it's going to look amazing. We have so many new things coming out. We have so many fun things to talk about each and every week now with the new show coming out. Helps us think about fun little ideas and good things like that. Do not forget, again, we will, of course, be doing what we can once the Battlefront Classics comes out. Try and maybe do a live stream or just a video where we'll go over our nostalgia for the game and just go around pew-pewing Jedi in the Order 66. I love that map. That was one of my favorite maps for Battlefront 2 in the old days, was running around on Coruscant during Order 66, just blasting Jedi.
Yeah, we'll have to do. We'll do one's more pandering to me, and then we can do yours.
Yeah. But it'll be a great time, guys. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, like and subscribe for so much more future content and great things coming out from this channel. Have an amazing rest of your evening, and as always, may the Force serve you well.
May the Force be with you.